Hey mamas, welcome back. Today we are talking all about habits and why not? I think it's the perfect time. Holiday season is starting up. Thanksgiving is later this week, and I don't think that we should wait for the new year for 2025, which is kind of crazy to think about, but I don't think we should wait for the new year to start setting goals and thinking about behavior change and our habits. We can start today, and it's okay to start practicing and implementing different tools that I'm going to be sharing with you today during the holiday season. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not asking you to be restrictive or even be very, very disciplined. It's just starting to create awareness with our current behaviors and starting to think about who we want to be, what we want to do, and what our goals are, and how can we start to align those things. So we're going to be talking about that today because it can be very difficult to build a habit that is supportive, to build a habit that is healthy, and we can be struggling to make it stick. So maybe it's easy at first for the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but as time goes on, we're like, wow, this is kind of exhausting. So how can we make our habits stick, healthy habits stick? And how long does it actually take to create a habit and for a habit to last? A lot of the times you will see or hear that it takes only 21 days. And after this 21-day challenge, you are gonna just do this for the rest of your life, or 90 days. And that's not really the case. So we're gonna be talking about that today. I'll explore what research really says about how long it takes to create or break a habit. And I'll be sharing practical strategies to help you build routines that truly last. From starting small and staying consistent to creating effective triggers and celebrating progress, I'll give you the tools you need to make lasting changes in your life. Plus, I'll discuss what it takes to break old habits and replace them with positive ones that align with your wellness goals. That is what we need before 2025. You may want to grab a notebook and pen, start jotting some things down, taking some notes, and start to implement some of the things that I go over today. Start today. Start during the holiday season. Why wait for the new year? I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. But first, I'm going to share a review that was left on Apple Podcasts. This one is from Miss Misty Mack. Postpartum nutrition support. As a mom of 4, 3 are teens, I've been looking for help on learning to prioritize my nutrition. I always worry about the details. I love hearing about her functional medicine background, as being holistic is one thing that is so important to me. I'm just beginning my journey, so this podcast came at the perfect time, and her encouragement at making this attainable in my busy life is a must-have. Thank you so much, Miss Misty Mac, one, for leaving a review and for those kind words. I am so grateful that this podcast has found you on your journey. Cheers to you on this beautiful journey, and I can't wait to share more information with you. If you have 30 seconds, please take the time to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. Now it's time for the show. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Strong and Nourished Mama, the podcast dedicated to helping busy moms thrive. I'm Val, functional sports dietitian, prenatal and postpartum fitness coach, and first-time mama. I'm here to guide you on a wellness journey with simple, practical strategies to keep you feeling strong, nourished, and energized every day. Whether you're juggling work, family, or finding time for yourself, I'll share tips on nutrition, health, and wellness tailored just for moms. So if you're ready to feel empowered and recharged, let's dive in to today's episode and start building a stronger, more nourished you. Enjoy the show. We are so conditioned to wanting results right away, ASAP, stat, pronto, tonight. And if we don't get it, we're pissed. We're done, right? It's that all or nothing thinking. We're so impatient with everything. I always hear clients or people ask me, Val, is there a magic pill for that? So we'll be talking about, things that they may need to start thinking about or start incorporating. And they're like, is there a magic pill for that? And they giggle, but they're serious. And that's because changing behaviors, changing your habits, that is some hard stuff. And it's not fun. Sometimes it's pretty difficult to take the time to look within is basically what you're doing. You're assessing your current identity, your values, and we're going to talk more about this, but does all of that align with your current behaviors that you're doing, your current habits. It's not easy. And most of the time, we want the easy way out. And there's a reason for this. The brain is always trying to find the path of least resistance. The brain is always scanning the environment and finding the easiest path forward. That's what the brain wants to do. And that's where habits come in. Now, I want to use my current postpartum journey with you. So I'm a little over a year postpartum. And as I mentioned, I am not a fan of that bounce back culture. You'll see it everywhere. And many women feel pressured that they have to lose weight right away. They have to go back to work right away. They have to go back to the gym 5 days a week. And I made a promise to myself that I was going to give myself at least a year to get back to not necessarily where I was before pregnancy, because I know that I'm a totally different person physically, mentally, and emotionally, but maybe start working on some strength again, or some of the workouts, or maybe do a race, or just maybe some of the things that I used to do, right? And do it in a safe way, not necessarily the goal to lose weight or to look a certain way. So I gave myself at least a year. Now, the first 3 months postpartum, I was very slow with moving into movement and adding other things to my routine. And then eventually I started adding in CrossFit and resistance training and lots of walking. I was walking every single day. I didn't probably start to notice any physical changes, aesthetic changes, until I was probably 8 months postpartum. And I didn't even do a fitness test, meaning I didn't look at body composition, or I didn't look at my strength or test my strength or my VO2 max, my aerobic capacity, until I was like 10 months postpartum. And 1 year postpartum, which was a few months ago, is I have noticed, wow, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting faster. I don't have these symptoms anymore. My core is stronger. I don't have diastasis rectus abdominis anymore. The ab separation, which we'll definitely talk about in future episodes. And it's because I stayed consistent every single day, every single week, every single month for that year. And still to this day, I stayed consistent with small little habits, small little behaviors that made this big end result. And we're going to talk about that today. First of all, what are habits? Now, if you look up the definition to habits, what comes up is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. If you have a habit that is not so supportive, let's say biting your nails or stopping at McDonald's on the way home or whatever it is, you probably know that it's very difficult to give up. Habits are also an automatic reaction to a specific situation. So if habits are this automatic behavior that we do, we have to really take that into account. It's something that we're not thinking about. Actually, 40% of our daily habits are unconscious. 40% of the behaviors that we do every single day, we do not think about. And this is because it frees up valuable brain power and space. These neural pathways are set in place so you don't have to actively think about what you're going to do, brushing your teeth, making the bed, tying your shoes, putting your seatbelt on. If we had to actually think about, okay, remember to put my seatbelt on, remember to brush my teeth, that would get exhausting. Now, of course, growing up, and if you have littles, that's something that you're working with them on, right? Is creating those habits. For us, hopefully, brushing our teeth is something we don't have to think about. So it frees up valuable brain power. So that's why the habits that you currently have, if you're trying to change them into something that's more healthy or supportive for you, it is really hard to give up and to do, because 40% of the time, you're probably not thinking about it. Now, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, which is a great book, I highly recommend it, says that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. So for example, if you save $1 every single day for 1 year, by the end of that year, you have more money than you did, especially if you compare it to spending $1 every day for a year. You're going to have less money, okay? The effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. So your habits compound. Now, this can either be for you or against you. An example of a habit that is supportive and compounds for you is how you act towards others. When you're nice and kind and grateful, others reflect that behavior back to you in your relationships or in everyday life. That's probably something that you have recognized. An example of a habit that compounds against you is the more you think of yourself as worthless and stupid, stupid, the more you condition yourself to interpret life through that lens. That is very powerful. So what you are thinking is influencing everything around you, as well as your physical body, yourself. What you do, what you think will happen. So it's the typical example of don't think of a pink elephant. What do? You think of a pink elephant, right? The brain doesn't know yes and no, do this, don't do that. The brain just knows what you're saying, right? So if you keep saying, don't eat the cake, don't eat the cake, don't eat the cake, it's bad, don't eat the cake, all you're telling your brain is eat the freaking cake. Like there's cake, I love cake, I'm gonna eat the cake. And so that's something that we have to think about and practice. Our habits shape our identity. Now, if you think about Albert Einstein and the definition of insanity, right? That doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, sometimes we're probably a little insane where we're gonna do the same thing, but we're expecting something totally different, even though we know that we're going to get the same result that we have been getting. We need to be able to compare our daily routine with our desired goal. And that's something I do with my clients one-on-one, whether that's nutrition related or exercise related. And a lot of the times we bring in stress and sleep too, because that's part of our daily routine and our behaviors, and our sleep and our stress are definitely going to influence our nutrition and how we move our body if we move our body. So we have to take the time to compare our daily routine with our desired goal. And we have to align our goals and our habits with our identity. So I want you to think of a goal you are currently working towards. Maybe the goal is eating healthy. It's a very general goal. Now think of one, what does healthy mean to you? How are you currently eating? Do your habits right now line up with this goal? Well, if you're eating out 7 days a week, it may not be helping you achieve the goal of eating healthier. Now, a very general, very general goal is I want to lose weight. So we have to break that down into our habits and how we're going to actually achieve that goal with daily routines and daily behaviors. So when you're thinking about your goals, which we can totally do before the new year, and your habits, I want you to name a goal you're currently working towards or that you're thinking about. Do your habits line up with this goal? Which habits during your day, during your week align with the goal? Which habits do not align with this goal? And what new habits would you likely have to incorporate in order to achieve this goal? So those are some things that we have to think about, and something that I discuss and work with my clients one-on-one. Now, when we're talking identity, our habits are shaping our identity. Our beliefs, though, form our identity. So again, if I keep telling myself that I'm stupid, I'm worthless, why can't I just do this simple thing? Then that's going to influence my identity, and I'm going to become that. Now, if my goal is to become a runner, if I want to run a half marathon next year, then I need to align my identity and my values with that goal, and I need to believe it. Instead of saying, I would like to be a runner, we need to say, I am a runner. That is very powerful. Our beliefs form our identity, but our beliefs are not set in stone. They're learned, they're modified over time, and you can change them, and that's okay. There's continuous modification, and that's because we're always trying to become, hopefully, the best version of ourselves. So our habits are deeply rooted into our identity, which is our belief system. So if we are going to change our habits, we have to look at our belief system. We have to look at our identity. There are 2 steps for changing beliefs. Decide the type of person you want to be and prove it with small, actionable wins every single day. I am a runner. That's how you're going to identify, right? I am a runner. And how are you going to prove that to yourself? Well, let me start walking every single day because I haven't ran in a while. I'm not just going to go out and start running 5 miles. That's a little crazy. But I'm going to start walking every day. You know what? 10 minutes, I'm getting a little out of breath. So I'm going to start with 10 minutes 3 times a week. And then in a month, I'm going to do 10 minutes 4 times a week. And then I'm going to progressively increase the frequency, the days per week that I'm walking. And eventually I'm going to add the duration. So maybe 3 days a week, I stay at 15 minutes. And then 4 days a week, I go to 30 minutes. And you get the idea. Over time, you're building on top of that. And then in 6 months, 12 months, you are already running and training for your half marathon. And that's with any goal. So if you think back to my postpartum journey, it took a year to be able to get the strength and the muscle back that I had before. So we need to align our desired habit changes with our identity. Do they align? Is first what we need to create awareness around. And if they don't, how can we start to align them? Pause, reflect, and think about what you want to do. And I also want you to think about what your motivation is. What do you value? What is your big why? My big why is I want to be strong and functionally fit for myself and my family. If you know me, you know that I'm going to grab as many grocery bags as I can and carry them into the house because I don't got time to make 1,000 trips back and forth. I want to carry my baby girl or pick her up from the ground without breaking my back and hurting myself. I want to be strong enough to go on a walk and do a quick sprint with the dogs and play soccer or whatever the case may be. Now, I love exercising. I love lifting weights. I love doing different types of workouts. That's my jam. But my ultimate goal and my ultimate why is to be there for my family and for myself. I want to be 80, 85 years old, being able to go on walks every single day. I want to be able to lift up and put the groceries away or grab a cup or lift up a big box. A lot of the times people will see me with a big bag, the diaper bag, my purse, and I'm holding my baby girl and they're like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, this is why I work out. This is easy. This is why we do farmer carries, people. So we have to make sure that we think about what do we value? What are our current values? Do our habits align with those values? What is our big why? Because at the end of the day, does the number on the scale really matter? When the time comes and we die, does the number on the scale matter? Is that what people are going to be talking about? Like, oh my gosh, she was X amount of pounds. Like, no, who cares? What matters is how we were able to spend time and connect with our family, our friends, and our loved ones. And other things may matter to you as well. Now, when we connect our desired behavior or habit with our why or our values, then we are connecting to an infinitely renewable resource or power source for change. Things are going to start to get real, and that's what we want. Once you do this work, and this may take time, this may take some work to do one-on-one. So maybe we meet one-on-one when we actually talk about this, depending on what your goals are and how we can align your current behaviors with your values and your big why. After you take the time to do this work, then we need to start practicing some different things. Now, does it actually take 21 days to make or break a habit? No. What about 90 days? No. We can't say that it's going to take X amount of days or months to make or break a habit. That's not the way it works. There's way more to it than that. Now, I actually just saw this reel. It was really funny. It was this lady and she was acting like she was an influencer selling some type of program. And she was saying, you know what? Your metabolism is messed up. You need to do all of these things. She was listing all of these very hard, ridiculous things that you have to do to fix your metabolism, decrease your cortisol. And by the end of it, she was like, so join my 6-week challenge and you will be cured and your metabolism will be saved. So I thought that was very funny. It doesn't work like that, okay? For one, we have to think about automaticity. So the more we do the behavior, it starts to become automatic. So if your goal is to walk 10 minutes every single day and one day you're just like, oh, I do not want to walk. Even just walking 1 minute of those 10 minutes reinforces that behavior. So it's going to make it easier for you to continue it, for you to do it the next day for 10 minutes or the next day for 8 minutes or the next day for 5 minutes, whatever it is. The more you stay consistent with the behavior that you are trying to implement, the easier it's going to be, the more it's going to become automatic. So it's called automaticity. And we also need to tie in emotion with our behaviors to help. So we know it's not just X amount of days. We know that we have to stay consistent. We also need to set small, realistic goals to incorporate, right? Those daily habits, but we also need to tie in emotion. If my goal is to run a half marathon and then I'm like, ugh, I hate running, I'm not going to run the half marathon. I'm probably never going to run it, or I'm just going to hate my life doing it. And we don't want that. You want to be able to actually enjoy what you're doing. I think that's huge. So if your goal is to improve healthy eating, we'll go back to that goal. I'm not going to make you eat things that you don't like. I'm not going to make you eat chicken, broccoli, rice every day, or go vegan or vegetarian or whatever it is, or stop eating cake or pizza. You can never have pizza. That's not the way it works. Now, when we're tying in emotion, this is because it takes 3 positives to overcome 1 negative. 3 positives to overcome one negative. So if I say, ugh, I look ugly, I need 3 positives to overcome that. Now, the more negative things that you say, then it's going to reinforce that. To help with habit change, to help with behavior change, we have to stay consistent to practice that automaticity, or to get to that place where things start to become automatic. It's just, okay, Mondays I wake up and I go to the gym. And we also need to tie in emotion with our behavior. So after that walk, do you need to jump up and down and scream and say, yes, I love walking? No, I mean, you can totally do that. I'm here for that. I support you if that's what you want to do. But all you have to say is, man, I feel good. It's so nice outside. Even if it's a little cold, this breeze feels amazing. I'm so grateful that I'm able to actually walk and be outside. Those positive statements are going to help reinforce that behavior. So just a little recap. We want to align our goals and our habits with our identity. We want to become that person. A quick example that James Clear uses in his book, Atomic Habits, is the smoker example. You have 2 people who are trying to quit smoking. Very difficult to do. One person offers both of these ex-smokers a cigarette. Hey, do you want a cigarette? And one says, no, I'm trying to quit. And the other one says, no, I am not a smoker. There are 2 very big differences there. The one that identifies as a non-smoker, it's probably going to be easy for that person to not get a cigarette or to take up smoking again. I'm not saying that that's easy. Now, the other person is saying, still identifying as a smoker. No, I'm trying to quit, but they still identify as I am a smoker, so they're probably going to smoke again. So we have to be able to align our goals, our habits with our identity and our values, and understand our big why. Let's shift gears a little bit. Every habit, whether supportive or not so supportive, good or bad, follows a 4-step process every time going through the behavior. And that is 1, cue, 2, craving, 3, response, and 4, reward. Your cue initiates the behavior. Your craving is the motivational force behind the habit. Without a desire, we wouldn't really have a reason to react or respond. Number 3 is response, the actual habit or behavior you perform. So this can be in the form of a thought or an action. And then reward, the end goal of every habit or behavior. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. And the response is about obtaining the reward. So let's use an example. Your coworker brings in fresh donuts in the morning. Now, what is your cue? Maybe you walk by the break room and you see the donuts. You see the person bringing in the donuts, or you walk by and you smell the freshly baked donuts. And you're like, That initiates your craving. And you think, I love donuts. That smells so good. So what is your response? You go and you grab a donut. And what is the reward? You take a bite and chew it and enjoy it, mindfully eat it, hopefully, and it tastes like heaven. Yum. You get that quick dopamine response. You enjoyed it. That is the reward. So every habit goes through this 4-step process, whether you're thinking about it or not. No matter what the behavior is, it's going through cue, craving, response, and reward. Now, this process is also referred to as the habit loop. It's a feedback loop that is an endless cycle that habits every single day go through. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment, and this loop can further be split into 2 phases. So you have phase 1, where it's the problem phase, cue and craving, and then your brain scanning the environment. Okay, I need a solution phase, which is phase 2, and that's your response and your reward. I'm hungry, you're going to go get something to eat. James Clear states that all behaviors are driven by the desire to solve a problem. Just like I mentioned, I'm hungry, I need to eat. That's the problem, and I'm going to satisfy that problem. So in the donut example, the problem is you notice something good and you want to obtain it. And another example is driving home and passing fast food. So let's say you've been sitting in traffic, you forgot to eat lunch, it was a crazy day. You drive by McDonald's or Chick-fil-A and you smell it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I'm just going to turn in real quick and go through the drive-thru. It won't take that long. I just need something. This habit loop can be considered as the laws of behavior change. So how can we use this habit loop to create good and supportive habits and to break a not so good or not so supportive habit? How do we create a good habit? With the cue, we have to make it obvious. With the craving, we have to make it attractive. And with the response, we have to make it easy. Easy. Remember, our brain is trying to find the path of least resistance. And then for reward, we have to make it satisfying. If you say you hate it, it's not going to be satisfying and you're probably not going to do that habit or that behavior again. Maybe you want to start working out and you're starting to think, okay, do I go to the gym? Do I get a membership? Do I go out for a walk or a run? It's getting kind of cold. Maybe I can do something in the house. Maybe I can do something in the living room after I wake up, before work, before the kids wake up. So we have to go through this behavior change model. What is going to be your cue? What is going to remind you to work out in the living room in the morning? And first of all, what is going to remind you to get up a little bit earlier if you're not already? Well, maybe you set your reminder or your alarm at a certain time so that you can wake up and have enough time to get in a 20 or 30 minute workout. Maybe your cue is workout clothes in the bathroom with your tennies, with socks and tennis shoes. And then what is your craving? You have to make this attractive. So maybe you choose a fun full body workout on YouTube or Peloton or whichever app that you're using. You're told what to do. There's music. They're fun. It's quick and it's easy. It's not like you have to think of something to do because that doesn't sound fun, right? And then you have to think about your music and how am I going to warm up? And then that's just more resistance and you're probably not going to do it. So your cue, you have an alarm to wake you up early and then you already have your workout clothes and your tennis shoes ready to go in the bathroom. So after you wake up, you can change and then go work out in the living room. Now your craving is you're making it attractive. I know about this fun workout. Val told me about it or so-and-so told me about it. I'm going to try it out. Now, what is your response? With the response, you have to make it easy. All you have to do is go into the living room. You don't have to put a jacket on, warm up the car, get in the car, drive to the gym, park, go in the gym. Like you see all of these things that kind of get in the way of you actually accomplishing the behavior. We have to make it easy. So you're going into the living room. We're not going to the gym. Now, what is your reward? You want to make it satisfying. You know that after you work out, you move your body, you lift some weights, you always feel so good afterwards. Even if it's only 20 minutes, you can get in a really good workout for 20 minutes. Maybe it's not resistance training. Maybe that day you need some yoga and some gentle movement and connection with your breath and your body. But you notice that after you do this behavior, this little mini workout, you have more energy the rest of the day. That is a great reward. You have more energy and patience for yourself, for others around you, for your kids, and we need that as moms. You also have to start small. We always want to go big or go home when it comes to our goals, especially in the New Year's. So during this time, you're like, it's the holidays. I can't be good. I can't make these supportive habits for my lifestyle. Screw it. All or nothing thinking. I'm just going to wait to the new year because that's when things are easy, right? Is when the new year comes. Not necessarily. So the new year comes and you go all out. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week for 60 minutes and I'm going to lift heavy and do all the things. And for 2 weeks, you probably have high motivation and you feel good, but then that starts to fall off. I mean, everyone knows the typical example of setting a New Year's resolution. You stick with it for a little bit and then it starts to fall off because it was hard. You didn't do something that was super easy, something that was sustainable for you to continue. Remember, small things, small behaviors and habits that you implement compound over time. So in 6 months, in 12 months from now, when you start whatever it is that you want to start, you're going to be in a totally different place. Right now it's hard, it's difficult, but we're going to start stupid easy. We're going to make it so easy that you can accomplish it. Now, how do we break bad habit? With your cue, you want to make it invisible. We don't want to see it, okay? Craving, you want to make it unattractive. So like, I love donuts, but if I notice in the afternoon that the donuts are still there and I already had one in the morning and they've just been sitting out on the counter all day, I'll be like, ew, gross, a stale donut. Like, I like fresh donuts. I don't like any donuts that have just been sitting there. Like, to me, that's unattractive. So it's easy for me not to get that donut. Now, your response, number 3, you got to make it difficult. And then your reward, you have to make it unsatisfying. Okay, so let's go back to that donut example, as I just mentioned, right? So your cue, maybe you take a different route. You don't walk by the break room where the donuts are. To make it unattractive for the craving, you check in with your hunger. Okay, I'm not physically hungry. I just had a donut, or you know what? I had a donut yesterday, or I just ate breakfast. I feel really good. Maybe I can have a donut another time. But it's also 2 p.m. and the donuts have been sitting there all day long. Not a fan of that. So your response, you make it difficult. It's hard to get to because you're going in a totally different direction, a totally different route. And then reward, making it unsatisfying. You're saying that it's been sitting there out all day and you'd rather have a fresh donut and enjoy a fresh donut. So if you're trying to incorporate something that's supportive and healthy for you, we have to make it easy and we have to be able to use the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward to be able to do that. Okay, so we have to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. If you're trying to break a bad habit, you have to make the cue invisible, make the craving unattractive, make the response difficult and to obtain, and then make the reward unsatisfying. When you start to practice these things, you're going to notice that over time, the more you stay consistent with it, those small little behaviors, it's going to get easier and easier. Remember, with your goals, you have to be very specific in what you're wanting to do. So if we go back to that very general example of, I want to lose weight, that's not going to really make it something that we're going to want to continue. That's more of an outcome goal. Again, we have to take it back into our identity and our values. So many of my clients say, I know what to do, but I just can't do it. It is so hard. And that's because it comes down to our behaviors and our habits. So James Clear says the key to creating good habits and breaking bad ones is to understand these fundamental laws. You have to understand the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. Think through it with the behavior that you want to start doing, and then think through it with the behavior that you want to stop. Maybe you want to go to bed earlier. How are you going to make that easy? How are you going to make that satisfying? So let's review. What are some practical tips for creating lasting habits? And there is so much more to talk about, guys, and we will definitely get to it in future episodes. But let's focus on some quick, easy tips that you can start to do now before the new year. 1, start small. Start with small, manageable changes and focus on staying consistent with this behavior for at least 6 months to a year, at least. I had a client tell me, I don't know why I'm losing weight. And I asked this person, well, how long have you been doing this behavior, whatever it was? And they said 2 weeks. Now, it may feel like a lifetime, those 2 weeks, because you're doing something new and difficult, but just stick with it. Don't even think about the changes in the weight loss or whatever the goal, the end result is, the outcome result. Don't even think about that. Just focus on staying consistent every single day. You don't have to be perfect. That doesn't exist. We just have to stay consistent and know that it's going to take time. It's going to take time. And depending on what you're asking for or what you're wanting to do, it may take closer to a year. And that's okay. We just have to realize that. So number 1, you start small. Number 2, focus on consistency over perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. I just said that. If your goal is going to the gym 3 times a week and one day comes where you don't want to go because that day is going to come, going for 5 minutes or doing half of what you originally planned is better than not going at all. So it goes back to practicing that automaticity with that consistency. It reinforces the behavior and that neural pathway to be created. Number 3, create triggers and cues. You need something to prompt you, to remind you what you want to do, and maybe you connect this to an already existing routine. So if we go back to the example of working out in the living room in the morning, the night before we have to think about what we're going to wear, putting that out, setting our alarm to wake us up early, and maybe we do that as part of our pre-bed routine before we brush our teeth and wash our face and stretch and do deep breathing or whatever it is that you're doing. You're connecting it to something you already do. And then number 4, reward and track your progress. Reward with small wins. Practice implementing that positive emotion and know that even the smallest little behavior is a win, and recognize that. Even if just showing up to the gym for 5 minutes and then going back home, that's a win. And I've actually done that before. I literally have gone to the gym and I was like, I am not feeling it today. I am tired. I kind of don't really feel good. I did some stretches and deep breathing and then I came home, and that was at 5:15 in the morning. And then I continued the behavior. So start small, focus on consistency over perfection, create triggers and cues, reward and track your progress. Don't forget to continue to work through that habit loop or the behavior model of cue, craving, response, and reward. This is going to help you implement supportive habits, good habits, and help you break those bad habits that you're wanting to get rid of. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Strong and Nourished Mama. If you enjoyed today's show and found value in it, I would love for you to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps me reach more mamas like you, and I truly appreciate your support. Stay strong, stay nourished, and I'll see you next time.